We have more breaking news now. The story of that nurse who was under Ebola quarantine, now free to go wherever she wants. A judge in Maine today rejected that state's attempt to place nurse Kaci Hickox under a court order restricting her movement. Today's order does require Hickox to submit to daily monitoring, but she's free to go where she wants. The judge said Hickox currently does not show symptoms of Ebola and is therefore not infectious, but also cautioned that Hickox need, quote, to demonstrate her full understanding of human nature and the real fear that exists. She should guide herself accordingly. Today, Hickox praised the ruling, but said she is sensitive to people's fears.
I am very satisfied with the decision. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. You know, I'm a nurse and a public health worker. I don't want to make people uncomfortable.
When you go out into the community?
This is a good question. I am taking things minute by minute.
Maine's governor called the ruling unfortunate. Joining me now is Dr. Devi of the NYU School of Medicine. Dr. Devi, first of all, thank you for being here.
Nice to see you, Reverend.
What's your response to the ruling?
Well, the judge is right that she's not infectious. So you can only catch Ebola from someone who's actively having symptoms. And then when they're having the symptoms, you actually have to come into contact with their bodily fluids, and they have to get into your bodily fluids. So that part is right. But I don't think it addresses what sparked the controversy in the first place, which was Dr. Craig Spencer's case. So that was here in New York City. Where the doctor actually developed symptoms in his apartment, which is okay, but it made, people are safe, but it made you wonder, what if he developed symptoms or somebody else developed symptoms in the subway? What would we do then? Because there are so many people that would be in close contact with you. So I think that's what sparked off this quarantine controversy, that people aren't sure if you should be at home.
She drew a distinction between urban and rural.
Yeah.
Is there credibility to that point?
I think so. I think so, because if you're living in a rural area and you're walking on a bike path or going for a bike ride like she did earlier, then the thing is, there aren't necessarily people right around you, right? So if they see you, especially she had a whole procession of reporters,
media,
photographers, right. If they see you, they can also move out of the way. I mean, she has as much right to that area as somebody else, right? Whereas I feel like in a major metropolitan area like New York City, I mean, your actions might affect somebody else, because it's really hard to kind of keep a distance from people if you go out into, but still, it's still very difficult to catch Ebola. I don't want people to worry.
But the reality is there's a lot of fear, Dr. Devi. I mean, a recent poll this week asked people what should happen to U.S. citizens returning from West Africa. 80% said they should be quarantined. I mean, how do we balance the need to calm the public's fears with the rights of the individual who may face quarantine?
Well, it's a difficult question. So I agree with you that I think we have to balance the two and look at maybe a voluntary in-home quarantine. I think people would volunteer to do this if they were compensated appropriately. So for some people, that might mean money. I mean, they can't work during that time. But for some people, I mean, they're already risking their lives. They're giving up their time to go save other lives. So for them, it might not just be about money. Maybe we could give food or medical supplies or something else to the relief organization, do something above and beyond what we're doing right now. But I think you have to get the support of the folks who are coming back from West Africa, because otherwise they can find other ways. I mean, we don't want the situation to be different depending on which airport you fly into. We don't want to make people lie. We don't want to make people feel stigmatized. So that is a big issue.
All right, Dr. Devi, thank you so much for your time tonight, and have a good weekend.
You too.